Stu Gatz here. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love a good gummy. Whether I'm on the golf course or winding down after a long day of carrying the show on my back, all I need is one good gummy to help me totally relax. And now, thanks to my good friends at CBDMD, getting Delta 9 THC gummies shipped directly to your door is not only possible, it's easy and affordable. How about that? Every CBDMD Delta 9 gummy is packed with 10 milligrams of THC per gummy, and let me tell you, buddy, they work. CBDMD also has Delta 9 microdose capsules that feature 1 milligram of THC, so it's easy to enjoy them whenever, wherever. And listen, I know it's easy to get confused with all the different Deltas out there, but Delta 9 THC is the same good old-fashioned THC we've all known and loved for years. To learn more about Delta 9 and everything else CBDMD has to offer, just head to cbdmd.com/Dan. Once again, that's cbdmd.com/Dan for information, education, and the best damn gummies you've ever had. Must be 21 years or older to purchase Delta 9.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stu Gatz podcast.
Amin El Hassan joins us now. We're happy to have him around. He always, look at him, just the face of sunshine. Thank you. We've got basketball stuff and other stuff to get to with him, but I want to do funniest thing from the sports weekend here. Let's go around the room because there's plenty to choose from.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha ha ha!
Funniest thing from the sports weekend is presented by CBDMD.
Tony, do you want to start us off? Are you
I'll
involved?
go first today, Dan.
He's not involved in the show today. All right, he's not ready. Chris, what is the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
This is a drill I saw Aaron Donald doing, but I'm convinced this is not a drill. Did you guys see this video? It's him basically choking a teammate for 3 yards. He's like doing this thing where he's got his teammate is standing next to him. He puts his right arm out towards the guy's neck, and he does this thing where he just like jabs the neck. And this poor number 69, probably like an undrafted guy, is just sitting there like his neck is shaking, and it's just it's not a football drill.
I think that there are so many people in sports who the people watching, no matter their level of expertise, simply don't understand how strong those human beings are. And I wish I could put any one of us for one play, not myself, anybody other than me, for one play in front of Aaron Donald so that you guys could know what that strength feels like for no two men to be able to block it.
This guy's got perfect hair for this drill because his hair just like flops back as it's just such a funny, such a ridiculous drill.
Who's the guy? You say he was number 69?
Number 69, I'm going to look it up.
Okay, so he's just a guy, and you're saying it's not a football drill. It's just Aaron Donald put his arm up and just ran him back.
Like he said something to him. It's like, hey, watch your mouth.
The $130,000 that he'll make from training camp, presuming he's not a roster NFL player.
Not worth
well,
it.
I would say that's his entire job. His entire job is just to be on the receiving end of that from Aaron Donald.
Whittingham, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
I really should be better than this, but there was a score bug this weekend from NBC Sports Philadelphia, which shows Phillies nothing, Pirates nothing, and the logos show the Phillies P and the Pirates P. So it's Phillies P 0, 0 Pirates P, and it looks like poop.
The score was poop.
It's funny because it said poop.
It was really funny.
That's every Pirates game.
I was just going to make that joke. I was scanning my brain for what's the Pirates joke that can be made here.
On the subject, by the way, of Aaron Donald, do you see that he said that he will be in Los Angeles as long as Sean McVay is still there?
All of a sudden, from retirement to that.
That, like, Sean McVay is worth whatever salary you're paying him purely on the basis of he'll keep Aaron Donald around for another year.
I feel like that was the fakest retirement thing we've ever heard. Nobody ever actually thought Aaron Donald was retiring, did they? He just kind of threatened it because he knows he's valuable. Like, I felt like that was one of those ones that nobody actually thought he was retiring.
I think, though, that McVay might be the kind of coach, because we're seeing so much of this change now. I read some stuff yesterday about, hey, no more two-a-days in football. Those seemed inhumane. I'm guessing McVay just tells Aaron every once in a while, you know what? You don't have to do anything today. Just go over there and rest. You're excellent. I'm going to treat you like a human being. You had to have had different rules for Shaq, right?
For Shaq, for Steve Nash, for Grant Hill, like when you're a vet who's been around that long, yeah, you guys don't have to do everything every single time. But I like the idea of Sean McVay telling him, just go over there, just choke somebody. Just choke somebody a couple of times, you're fine.
That's fine. You've done your work for the week. You mentioned the Pirates. Mike and I were talking about this last week. O'Neal Cruz has the biggest infield arm you've ever seen, correct? Period. Like
I've never seen.
It took one throw from their 6'7" shortstop for you to say that's the biggest infield arm. Not a shortstop, not a third baseman. I've never seen somebody who throws the ball like that.
To be fair, it's taken two throws because he went viral with a throw from a couple of weeks ago. That also made me say I've never seen that before.
His first throw in the big leagues. He threw it 100 miles an hour at first base.
99 miles per hour, which seems like really unsafe for the first baseman. I feel for them. He's an incredible talent. Got him in the beginning of July, plus 550, NL Rookie of the Year.
Jessica, what are you doing again?
Gambling again.
Jessica, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Ferrari putting on the hard tires on Charles Leclerc's car, Dan. They lost another race with strategy. It was so sad that it was funny.
You are a bit of a coward. In that,
correct.
The
Why,
F1 minute is not appearing today because your classes in Hungarian over the weekend did not go well?
Yeah, I hired a Hungarian tutor and she fired me, weirdly. She was like, this is not going to work.
The optics of this are very much like Greg Cody had a bomb, amazing back in my day, and then he disappears for 6 months.
Exactly.
She's
all
scared
the
of the
applause you
pressure.
got for the French
now it's
one.
summer break, and we're going to come back after the Belgian Grand Prix, and maybe I'll speak Belgian, Dan.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's either Flemish or French. So.
I don't know. I like Belgian.
I just called something that was cool bomb.
That was such an asshole correction. It was so bad.
Well, I looked it up because I was like, oh, what's next on the calendar? They're taking a month off. And I was like, Belgium. What do they speak there? Yeah, it's either French or Flemish.
Yeah, that was the joke, was that it was not an actual language. But thank you for explaining it, Chris.
Yeah. I thought your F1 minute last week was pretty fat.
With a PH.
What would the kids say today? Lit is even past date, right? Like, what would it be called? Your F1 minute.
Even if you say fleek, you're.
I think it's fire. I think fire is the one that I hear most often.
Fire has stood the test of time.
Yeah, fire's
been good for a long time.
Are we turnt?
Are we hyphy?
No, we're not turned
Kids,
anymore.
are
We
we
haven't
hyphy?
been hyphy in like 10 years.
We haven't been hyphy? I think the Bay Area still gets hyphy.
Is turnt expired? Turnt
Gas.
is expired.
Gas is what we say
it's
nowadays.
Gas is not as
Super
good as
gas.
fire.
No, super gas better than fire.
Super gas is better than fire?
That's right, Dan.
Mike Ryan.
Poop for me.
What was
It was a poop.
Poop?
Yeah, poop. He took my poop thing. The poop it was really funny because, again, it said poop on the screen for a while.
Amin, what was the
funny.
funniest thing
Poop,
from the
poop.
sports weekend?
Poop.
Keith Hernandez living out all of our nightmares by mispronouncing Jazz Chisholm's name the bad way.
Yes. That Keith Hernandez, it was funny that he called him.
Jizz Chasm. Which would be my porn star name, coincidentally.
Chasm.
Yeah, Jizz Chasm.
Robbie Anderson is changing his name, and I want to do this. I want to go with Robbie Anderson, who is changing his name from Robbie with a Y legally to Robbie IE. What? Because he likes how it looks. His signature looks better, and he's right.
He's right.
But it is a lot of way to go on a name change that will be exactly the same sounding name.
It's like if you spelled your name like DANNIE and then switched to like DANNY. Like the Y looks better in that case. Robbie's the exact opposite of that.
But Stu Gatz has been absolutely right about this. No receiver who's just kind of a decent receiver gets more attention than Robbie Anderson. And he's in Carolina as well. Doesn't make sense how much I know about Robbie Anderson.
There's actually a real life example of this guy. Scottie Pippen actually spells his name Scotty. And I don't know why everyone spelled it IE, but he spells his name TTY. And so now his son, Scottie Pippen Jr., does it with the Y.
Jessica, so the audience knows the nature of your cowardice. The expectations of your French F1 minute, which got universal applause in an era where nothing around here gets universal
Especially if I do it, yeah.
applause. Nothing gets universal applause. And the pressure of that made it so that this week would be a disappointment if you did it. So you're just brand management protection, load management.
Exactly. Load management, brand management, load management, poop joke.
Poop joke.
Dan, I can't learn Hungarian in 7 days, all right? So we're going to take a break with the F1 minute, and we'll be back. There's 9 races left. And to be honest, Hungaroring, not a lot of action. It was a technical race, a lot of strategy. You can listen to a breakdown this week on DNF with Spencer Hall. We're also going to have a little surprise in the podcast feed for DNF fans. I won't say what it is, but it's going to be
I need to
big.
know. Tell me right now.
I can't go with Robbie Anderson, though, because, again, as mentioned previously, in what was billed as the last match of his life, Mike Ryan was invited to this. Mike Ryan did not go. Ric Flair wrestling in a t-shirt to cover up that the body at 73 isn't going to look good when everything's gone to flab and it's been a hard life. He looked to be having a heart attack in his last match in front of his children. And to be fair, he had a lot of photos where he was a deeply, deeply unhealthy shade of red while tying his shoes. He was in no condition to do this, face covered in blood. He faked a heart attack and then Three Stooges style emerged from it to eye gouge.
I've never seen that move in a wrestling ring. Ever.
He goes out pioneering. He was faking a heart attack. We thought that he might actually die, and then the next move was just to poke his opponent to gouge his eye.
Don't call him the dirtiest player in the game for nothing.
Chris,
man.
did you pay for this?
I did. I don't know why. I just kind of did it. And no one's talking about the fact that he won at the end with the brass knuckles. I mean, geez, that's cheating, I thought.
How'd you get that through airport security, Rick?
How does it show up on your credit card bill? Is your wife going to look at the bill at the end of the month?
How much was it? How much?
34 and change.
What else was around the spectacle? Was it a remembrance of his career?
Was it a lot of video? You actually would have gotten a kick out of it because it was done by Jim Crockett Promotions, so it looked very much in the style of like 1980s territory wrestling broadcast. You had Tony Schiavone calling the matches, so it kind of looked like what you were hoping it would look like. All of it was a bit of a spectacle.
You paid for it as well, or you?
Yeah. I loved every second.
They had way too many matches, though. There was like a long card. It was one of those things I tuned in at the start, and then I realized there was a lot of matches before Rick, and I kind of, I came back to it.
Was it sad?
I mean, the Rick part was just, yes, of course. He's ridiculously old, and he's throwing this guy who's like in his prime, and he's throwing him very slowly to the turnbuckle, and then this guy's sprinting to the turnbuckle. And Ric Flair's slaps at this age obviously are not the same slaps, but the way they're reacting to these slaps as if they're still strong slaps was actually comical.
I'm happy he got to have that moment. It meant a lot to him. He wanted to go again. We had enough nostalgia to make us feel like we were watching Ric Flair. To me, in my mind, his last match is always going to be the one that he had against Shawn Michaels, because then he could really go. It was sad that he looked 73, but it was also amazing that he's doing this with a pacemaker. No one's ever done that. He gave us laughs. He made you care. You don't have to do a bunch of flips to tell a good story. And
he got body slammed and he was bleeding.
Yeah, he had the juice. Like the juice was flowing. Like it was $34 well spent. I encourage anybody to go and do that.
I don't think the internet's going to agree with that. Put it on the poll, please, Chris Cody, at Le Batard Show. Was Ric Flair's last match $34 well spent? Because you might think that to honor him, but you were at one of his big birthday parties. You're friends with him. He introduced a DJ set of yours. You were going to like that no matter what.
Yeah, well, I'm a huge Ric Flair fan. But I also have standards for him, and I know what he overcame to get that. He should be dead. Like, it's amazing that he is doing this with a pacemaker.
His family thought he would be okay dying in the ring on this, correct?
I kind of thought, like, when I read about it, I'm like, what are you doing, man? this is crazy. You should not be in that ring. But he got checked out by doctors. They said he was all right. I'm happy he got to have that moment. He was surrounded by friends. It was really cool that Mick Foley, The Undertaker, and Bret Hart were ringside, and you kind of had like a mini Mount Rushmore of wrestling there on that side. It was really cool to know that Rick got to be surrounded by friends and colleagues, people that he has worked with for so long, careers that he has made, and he got to perform maybe for one last time. I doubt it. I have my doubts always with Rick when it comes to that, because if this was profitable, they'll try to run it back. But I'm happy he got to have that moment.
How do you navigate your childhood emotions and the moral conundrums with him, as we've had to do a new math with Chris Jericho's and a bunch of other people?
I told you when this was relitigated in the public like a year ago. I knew Rick well after that incident. I judged Rick based off the merits of when I became friends with him. I do think, like, if I find out that Motley Crue was rude on an airplane, kind of like the cost of doing business, not to rationalize it, it was bad. He's gotten severely punished for it. There's a reason why he's doing this card on Triller as opposed to doing it with AEW. I would love to see Ric Flair get the send-off that, say, Sting is having, because I think that just his promo ability, he has so much to give to the game. Part of me is sad that he had to do this independently because he was basically treated like a pariah. I think he served his time, and I know the man who he is now, and he's still like something that I really enjoyed from my childhood and my youth, and I've explained that.
But it was also, see, like that, Mike had that feeling, but then you can also be less emotional about it, and just like, it was like funny because it was so ridiculous because he was so old. So it's like both ends of the spectrum.
Faked a heart attack in front of his kids.
But that was great.
And then
that made me laugh out loud.
That was
because
incredible.
If I'm being, like, I saw, it was such a ridiculously overacting. I was like, he's clearly, like, he's going, I saw it coming from a mile away. It wasn't, and this is probably better. It was not so, like, it wasn't a moment where I'm like, oh my God, he's actually having a heart attack.
There were two of those moments where I was
there were, dude, when he laid down on the mat for 5 straight minutes, I was like, is this a thing, or is he just resting?
But he really turned on. Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! He really turned it on to.
And then did it.
I knew that the guy was just coming. I wanted it so bad.
Stu Gatz here. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love a good gummy. Whether I'm on the golf course or winding down after a long day of carrying the show on my back, all I need is one good gummy to help me totally relax. And now, thanks to my good friends at CBDMD, getting Delta 9 THC gummies shipped directly to your door is not only possible, it's easy and affordable. How about that? Every CBDMD Delta 9 gummy is packed with 10 milligrams of THC per gummy, and let me tell you, buddy, they work. CBDMD also has Delta 9 microdose capsules that feature 1 milligram of THC, so it's easy to enjoy them whenever, wherever. And listen, I know it's easy to get confused with all the different Deltas out there, but Delta 9 THC is the same good old-fashioned THC we've all known and loved for years. To learn more about Delta 9 and everything else CBDMD has to offer, just head to cbdmd.com/Dan. Once again, that's cbdmd.com/Dan for information, education, and the best damn gummies you've ever had. Must be 21 years or older to purchase Delta 9.
This episode is brought to you by VIX Plus. If you liked VIX, you will love VIX Plus. Introducing the world's largest Spanish-language premium streaming service with original and exclusive content like La Mujer del Diablo or the biographical series of Maria Felix. Stream original series, movie premieres every week, premium soccer from the best leagues in the world, sports, news, and much more. Go to VIXPlus.com and start your 7-day free trial today.
Dan Le Batard.
I actually thought you looked kind of good.
Stu Gatz.
Thank you. The beard's grown out a little bit. I got a little life in my face, I feel like. Little tan, Colorado, San Francisco. I had a great time, man.
You got life on your face.
You've got death on your face.
I think you got 40 to life on your face.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stu Gatz.
We're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code DAN for a special offer when you sign up. That's code DAN only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Mike, I want to ask you, was it less or more convincing than Al Pacino in Two for the Money when he has the heart attack in the airport to scare Matthew McConaughey?
Less convincing, because I had watched Two for the Money 5 times, but then when I rewatched it for Cinephobe, I was once again surprised by it, and I thought there was a chance that Al Pacino might die. But it was all just a huge ruse to get Matthew McConaughey to sleep with his wife again.
I've got a couple of questions on this. One, what is the best movie heart attack that you have seen? The best performed movie heart attack? Is it from The Godfather? It's got to be somebody with arm pain. It's got to be somebody who falls on the ground without a lot of histrionics. But also, you mentioned Al Pacino. Is this a real thing, or was I fooled by the internet? Michael Mann is saying a Heat 2 is coming?
Right, the novel is coming. I think the novel drops this week. So that he wrote a novel, Heat 2, and hopefully that means we get a film. I don't know if the characters are the same. I don't know if we get to run it back with the original cast. I don't.
Oh, it can't be the original class.
No,
it can't be
no,
80-year-old De Niro and 80-year-old Pacino running around.
I don't think Val
there.
Kilmer can really convince me as an assassin right now.
Sizemore with his priapism.
Hank Azaria. He's got a great ass.
Yes, Hank Azaria with a role just under Pacino being yelled at by Pacino.
So I found all sorts of lists. People have done this before. Heart attacks in cinema.
The best, you've got a list of the best heart attacks in cinema?
Wow, their number 5 is super strong.
All right, well, how many do you have there? Do you have 10? Do you have 10? Can we do a top 10 list, or you can, or do we need to do a top 5 list? Because which are the ones you're thinking of? You've seen an awful lot of bad ones on Cinephobe, haven't you, Amin?
I have. The one I'm thinking about wasn't quite a heart attack, but it was someone convulsing. It was Carl Weathers' Apollo Creed when Drago knocks him down. He falls face down, and then he begins convulsing and twitching. And the real-life trivia behind that is the on-set doctor actually rushed into the ring because he thought Carl Weathers was actually convulsing and dying. That's how convincing of an acting job that Carl Weathers did. That's why we named our Ass Off Award for those who act their ass off after Carl Weathers.
Wait a minute. Did they ruin the scene because the doctor was so convinced that the scene got...
If you watch it, the first time when he falls and he starts twitching, it's a second and then it cuts because I believe the doctor had rushed in. And so every other shot is like a bunch of people in the ring. There's one where he's twitching again, but it doesn't quite look the same as the original twitch. I think 100% he was so convincing they ruined the shot.
I want to do some basketball stuff here with Amin, and we'll get Mike as soon as Mike puts together his top 10 list of movie heart attacks.
I'm going to take in all the data that the internet is giving me right now and put together my own top 5 because I'm not liking some of these.
Okay, very good. You can take your time with that. I thought you would go to a file cabinet and just pull it out. I'm sorry, we're making it up on the fly.
This is a very niche part of cinema.
I understand. Bill Russell, before our time, and we talked to Howard Bryan about this earlier, your thoughts here as somebody who cares about the game very deeply.
Well, I said this, I had to go on the radio live yesterday after I was done with my show because the unfortunate news broke. And what I said was, basketball, we are gifted and cursed by being the baby sport in terms of pro sports. Football, baseball, and hockey have all been around over 100 years, or just about. And meanwhile, basketball, we just turned 75, pro basketball. And so for us, we don't have the concept of legends who lived a long time ago who none of us saw play. Like baseball can talk about Babe Ruth, and football can talk about the guys that played in the black and white pro football era and all that stuff. But basketball, our legends walk among us. They're living history. But as a result, we have to watch them pass away. I looked this up, and of the top 75 players in NBA history, 11 of them have died in the last 10 years. That's 15% of the greatest players to ever play the game have passed away in the last 10 years. So when you talk about Bill Russell, who the Finals MVP trophy is named after, you're talking about the greatest winner in professional sports history. You're talking about the first black head coach in professional sports history. You're talking about a man who made an indelible impact on, if you just look at his civil rights track record, you would say what a great life this man has led. And then, oh, by the way, he's also the greatest winner in professional sports history. It's like, wait, what? Yeah. And while doing this, he also found the time to play basketball better than anyone ever in the history of the game.
Where will he be regarded more excellently? I mean, like in terms of memory and icon, is it greatest winner ever, or is his work and his way of being, can it be comparable in terms of excellence when you hear people talk about the human that he was and the way he protected his dignity in the face of some pretty awful racism?
Yeah, in a weird way, both. And I'm not saying that as a cop-out, but it's like it's rare when you get someone who's so excellent at both that he is appropriately regarded, I would say. We had a caller who was saying, oh, this guy never got his just due. I'm like, nah, I wouldn't say that, because first of all, the finals MVP trophy is named after him. Second of all, anytime this guy walked in a room, it didn't matter the age of the players in the room. Everybody gravitated towards him. Everybody knew who he was, and everybody sought him out and tried to hear things, stories and philosophies and all that stuff. So he's one of those guys where I think he was properly regarded. And
this is crazy. I don't think this has ever happened before. Amin is alleging it is the highest form of flattery and eulogy you could give a sports figure. You're alleging here publicly. I can't believe you're saying it. Bill Russell is above overrated. He cannot be touched by the smear of overrated. You're not allowed. I didn't know there was such a thing. You're saying that I'm not allowed to call him overrated. No one is.
You can't. I mean, it's dude played 13 years in the league. He went to the finals 12 times. He won 11 of them. In closeout games in his life, including college and the NCAA tournament, including the Olympics, and including closeout games and game sevens in the NBA, he was 21-0. He never lost a closeout game. So when you start kind of going through his track record of success, you realize, I'm pretty sure in high school he didn't lose any closeout games either, by the way. I just don't know what the number is, including the high school games. But
he was 4-4 in high school. They just don't use those. Like it was, they just started the counting when he got to the first of the 21. It was unbelievable.
He lost to this guy named Stubby Griskin.
It's an underregarded part of the history of Bill Russell. 2-6 in closeout games, 8th grade through high school.
Stubby Griskin's like, I had his number.
Locked him down to the post.
You want to hear how underrated he was? He was like a world-class high jumper, and this was pre-Fosbury. What's the Fosbury flop?
Flop, yes.
Yeah. So he literally used to just dive headfirst above the bar. He was the first person to clear 7 feet, I want to say, in high jump. One of the guys that he competed against in high school was this dude named Johnny, and Johnny was talking about, oh, this guy's great, whatever. And then Johnny went on to have a career in music. His name's Johnny Mathis.
This dude named Johnny.
The dude, he really had like a mythical level life. And again, I think the cool thing was he was around. You go to All-Star weekends, you go to the NBA Finals. He was at all these events. The players were always talking to him, and he was up to date on the current game. He wasn't like a lot of, jaded, retired guys talking about, oh, the game is terrible, whatever. He was still very up to date with the current game and was engaging with players. Brian Scalabrine told me a story about him sitting next to him on a flight and for a cross-country flight. And Bill Russell just told him stories about like mind games with Wilt Chamberlain and stuff like that.
Jessica, I wanted to talk to you about
guys, real quick. I need a ruling on this. Does it have to be a heart attack, or can it just simply be cardiac arrest?
It's best acted. It doesn't have to end in death. It just has to be.
Can we just say your heart stopped?
The best portrayal of the acting. We are, how believable.
Oh, there's great acting in the top 5. I just need to know what the rules are.
I'm telling you what the rules are. Please stop interrupting me while I'm trying to tell you what the rules are.
I asked you a very direct question.
The rules are, and these are all the rules.
I'm going to say it's a yes. It's a yes.
There doesn't have to be a death.
You just opened the door to the Mission Impossible franchise.
No, I want that out of here. No. That's another one of the rules.
I have a top 5 just self-defibrillation.
No. Okay.
Number 5, Casino Royale.
Okay. Number 4.
Number 4, Ethan Hunt in one of the Mission Impossible movies. I believe that was Mission Impossible
Let's
3.
clear out this category.
Self-defibrillation. I think it's the second time he did that in that franchise. So let's just say Ethan Hunt has 2 of them.
All right, just close out whatever the Mission Impossible
Whatever happened
category.
in Dumb and Dumber count? It was rat poison, but his heart stopped. Can we just do that? Because that would be number 1 for me.
Pills are good.
Pills are good.
We will get to the top 5 heart attacks, cardiac arrests
Shit, I burned through some good ones.
in the history of the
Why
movies.
did I do that? Now we need 2 more.
But Jessica won't shut up about the awkwardness of the HBO Max show, The Rehearsal.
Oh.
And
I mean, have you seen it?
it is so strange and wonderful. It's got to be one of the strangest things that's ever been allowed to be put on television.
What is their budget? That's the
I
only
was
question
wondering
I
the
have.
same
What is
thing.
their budget?
How are they paying all these extras? All these
The extras,
volunteers.
how are they transporting a 1-to-1 replica of a Brooklyn bar cross country to a warehouse in Oregon?
I was thinking the same thing last night, and apparently the remaining episodes get more and more elaborate. Dan, have you tried to explain this show to someone who hasn't watched it yet?
I thought How To with John Wilson was the weirdest show that HBO was trying to put out there, and I enjoyed the weirdness of it. But I don't understand how this person stays in character. You guys are marveling at the budget. He cannot ruin a scene by laughing, and the awkwardness is off the charts. Like I don't know how I'd explain it to a person other than to say that it's a show unlike anything I've seen on television.
It's times like this I rue the day that the Chinese invented gunpowder.
That was the hardest I've ever laughed watching any show on TV. I laughed out loud in that scene, but it is impossible to explain the series of stunts and lies that unravel from the beginning of the show, which just starts as you're a person who has to say something uncomfortable, so we're going to rehearse it. That's the premise of the rehearsal, right? Mm-hmm. But then it just becomes this web of insanity, and there's only 3 episodes out so far, and one has gotten more convoluted than the other, and somehow there's, I think, maybe 5 left. Is that right? How many episodes are there total?
I think there's 6 total.
6 total, so there's 3 left. Somehow it's going to get worse from all of the reviews that I've read. It gets even more complicated and complex. And Nathan Fielder, who is the creator and the producer of the show and also stars in it, you said something interesting, Dan, which is how does he stay in character? The more I watch Nathan For You and this show, the more I wonder, like, how much of this is a character and how much of it is just him playing himself, but just deadpan. I don't know. Like, I would love to get inside
He's got to
his
know
mind.
with it. There's got to be such extraordinary pressure on them going to these lengths and spending. He can't blow a scene. He cannot fall out of character and ruin the authenticity of a scene. So there's a lot at stake in him not falling out of character.
So shout out to Cinephobe producer Anthony Mays, who pointed this out. We love this show, and there's a part in the latest episode where an old man craps himself in the woods, and the non-actor, the guy who they're doing this whole thing for, has to help him clean himself. And all that's well and good, and then Mays pointed out, wait a second, so they had to have an actor be okay with shitting himself, right? And with the hopes that this dude would go along with it, which he did. That is such like, what do you pay someone to do that? How do you get someone to shit on you? Now, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take a shit on yourself.
I don't think he actually. I think we could maybe analyze the scene. I don't know if he actually shit on himself or if he needed help changing his diaper. It is up for debate. I mean, I'm not sure if there was shit in the diaper. However, there have been 2 times. I thought you were going to say this other part of that episode. I mean, which is one of the 2 times I think I've seen Nathan Fielder act like Nathan Fielder and kind of be out of character. There was one scene in this most recent episode where the person, which I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often, one of the people who is not an actor says something anti-Semitic, and Nathan Fielder's like, oh, wait, hold on, wait a second. And he kind of has to backtrack for a second, and then he comes back into character, and he's like, well, I guess if that is something you would actually say, then I guess you can say it. But he has this moment where he's like producing it mid-conversation.
No, the look on his face was, it is rare for you to be able to pull off that was awkward anti-Semitism, and somehow it's funny.
Yeah, and then there was another time in Nathan For You where this is, I think, one of the most hilarious episodes of the show that exists. I think it's in the first season where they do this gasoline rebate. And to get the rebate, you have to like hike a mountain and do all this crazy shit. And at the end of the scene, he's talking to the guy who owns the gas station. And the guy who owns the gas station says a comment as an aside that he drinks his grandson's pee. And Nathan Fielder exits character for a second. And he's like, wait, I'm sorry. What did whose pee do you drink? And then he like kind of just snaps out of it for a second. And he's like, what the talking about? And then he kind of comes back to it. And it is one of the it is so funny because you don't know, like, there's so many absurd things that happen in these shows, and most of it involving real people, and it's unpredictable, but somehow he is able to navigate like 99.9% of it and remain the show version of himself. But there's like that 0.1% where he just is like, what did I
don't think this show is for everybody. I think a lot of people will be put off by just how awkward and uncomfortable it is.
But more than that, it's just strange. But I'm going to disagree with you, Jessica. I think the anti-Semitic part, he stayed in character because he says to him, maybe you want to rethink that. And then the guy says, well, that's how me and my brother talk to each other. And he's like, on second thought, go ahead. If that's authentic to your
I agree. But there is like a split second right when he first hears it that he kind of like is like, whoa,
that's right.
Wait a second.
Right. Now we need to stop. Oh, well, do we? Do we need to stop?
All right. I just need to clean something up from earlier. Rogue Nation was the second time Ethan Hunt had to have his heart restarted because obviously in Rogue Nation he drowns. He's dead for a very long time.
Spoiler alert.
He's dead for about like 7%.
I thought he was dead. I thought he was dead. What was that thing underwater that he was spinning around?
That was like super secure, man. That was incredible. I
thought he was dead. He was dead.
I thought he was dead. Yeah,
he drowned
a couple of times.
He clearly drowned.
Remember in Mission Impossible 3, he had the explosion in his head, and he needed to die in order to live. Because he was defibrillated twice. Defibrillated once to deactivate the bomb that was in his head.
We're not doing this.
Defibrillated to revive himself. That was in Mission Impossible 3. What a great franchise. Quick question. I have 6 on my list right now, but one's from a TV show. Will you allow the one from the TV show? If so, then this one can go straight to the OLI.
You could just take it out, then you have a nice
depends.
5.
Depends. Is the show Mission Impossible?
No.
Okay.
All right, so OLI, big dying on the
Hold on a second.
I think we can continue to do this. You do one, and then we talk, and then you do one. Is that?
Yeah. I'm just spackling.
OLI.
OLI is big dying on the Peloton. It's very dramatic. Like, I've never really been able to telegraph a heart attack for that long in a show.
But did we see him have it, though? I don't think we did.
Yes, he fell in the didn't he fall in the shower like clutching at his arm?
Yes, the left arm starts going. As soon as he was sitting in that window frame, sipping on a coffee with white lights around him, you knew this guy was having a heart attack.
It was a close-up. It was very close-up, and I did think that he portrayed that well. It did feel like Big died there.
Well, his career certainly did after that.
That is correct.
That's true.
But that's on OLI.
Yes.
Okay.
Number 5.
Number 5, Vegas Vacation.
Oh, yes.
I won the money. Wasn't that the PE coach in Greece? I think it was a PE coach in Greece.
Wait a minute.
I think you're right.
Sid Caesar?
Yeah.
Pick up that name.
I don't know if it's right or not.
Well, whatever.
It's right.
His performance in that movie was pretty fat.
Number 4.
I'm sorry, just trying to keep us younger after the Sid Caesar reference. A lot of heavy lifting. Number 4, Jurassic Park, after the kid gets electrocuted and he's not breathing, and Sam Neill has to bring him back to life. Not really a heart attack, but it's actually hard to find a heart attack.
The rare kid heart attack.
Yeah. So it's the only kid heart attack I've seen in cinema, and therefore, on that merit alone, it's top 5.
And it was realistic. Was it realistic? I don't remember the heart attack you're talking
He
about.
was taking his sweet ass time getting down this electric fence, and also you don't have to climb over it. There's room for you to climb through it. It's like the Titanic thing where there's plenty of room for Jack. Just climb through. Why are we climbing over? Obviously, Lord Dern then turns on the electric fence. Kid goes flying.
Fell like what looked like 40 or 50 feet.
Yeah, I don't.
How did he
Great
survive
snag by Sam Neill. Great snag.
I think
That's
you're
a
doing.
web gem.
I think you're doing this differently than I am, though, because we were trying to assess how great the acting was, not whether it was a kid was involved. How well was the heart attack? How convincing was the portrayal
his
of the
hair
heart
was
attack?
like his hair was jumping off of his skull.
But that's not acting.
They put those kids through quite an experience. 1 second a T-Rex is trying to eat you. Next second you got the Jell-O thing. The Raptors in the kitchen was amazing.
Ass on.
Number 3.
Number 3, we're going to go with Randy the Ram in The Wrestler.
Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
Ass on what?
That's a cinephobe joke.
Cinephobe term.
Yeah. Number 2, this, I'm calling an audible. I'm switching number 1 and number 2.
What do you can't
I'm
do that.
switching number 1 and number 2.
You can't do that.
Because I was reading it out loud. I saw the 2 next to it, and I'm like,
You can't
nah.
do that. 2 is where 2 is. If you want to, go ahead
Switching.
and read 1 first. Read what was
I had
1
time to
first
marinate on
as
this
2.
decision.
You can't just change it.
Number 2 is now Vito Corleone in the garden after frolicking with a grandson, falling over in the tomato tree. And number 1, I think justifiably this was the right decision.
Hold on. I think Amin had some Godfather commentary here.
No, how do you? I want to hear what number 1 is. What this Johnny Come Lately number 1 that overtook Marlon freaking Brando acting in one of the greatest movies of all time.
Adrenaline shot, Pulp Fiction. Uma Thurman takes a needle directly to the heart,
But
courtesy
that's
of
not
one
acting.
Vinny Vega.
That's not her acting.
She acted her ass off in that movie. You want to talk
Ass off. Ass off
I
for
believe
me.
she was dead. I thought like literally Quentin Tarantino had gone too far. You killed an actress just to make the scene more believable. Here comes the needle right into the breastplate. She pops up. Her eyes get all wide, and I said, "Oh my God, that's acting."
You're agreeing that Godfather gets knocked out.
Yes, I was worried he was going to come with
Holy
another Mission
shit,
Impossible.
what an
That's why I was
appearance
upset.
by Amin El-Hassan. He has said that Bill Russell, he has announced that one athlete and one athlete only is allowed to exist in a plane above overrated. And he has also said Marlon Brando has been dethroned in the last 5 seconds. Greatest heart attack scene is Pulp Fiction. We're
Uma
25
Thurman.
years late to this conversation, but put it on the poll at Le Batard Show, Chris Cody. Better heart attack scene. Godfather, Marlon Brando dying, better acting in a heart attack scene, or Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction. Look at how happy you. What were you so happy about? You're just happy about revealing this shocking information to the audience.
I just think it's a tremendous list by Mike. I was scared at first. He kept saying Ethan Hunt, Ethan Hunt, Ethan Hunt. I was like, oh man, is this going to be one of those things? But then he really rounded it out there. I like those last 2, Mike. Good job.
Way to go, Mike.
We got to be more positive here.
Hell yeah. Bling, bling.